Birdie Brand's all-natural bug deterrent is the best in the game of golf. It keeps the bugs away while giving you a bit of focus for those tight moments as the match comes to a close. Tour-tested, tour-approved, the 1-ounce bottle fits in any golf bag or travel case. When the match is on the line and your focus and comfort are things you don't want to be thinking about out there on the course, use Birdie Brands to make sure that doesn't happen to you. Birdie Brands, game on, bugs gone. Get yours at birdiebrands.com today.
Hello and welcome to My Side of the Bag. Drew Hinesley with my co-host Scottie Worldwide, who won his first LPGA event in his hometown with his boss, who's a rookie on tour, Ingrid Lindblad. Scottie, I've been waiting so long to say this. Congratulations.
Well, thanks, Drew. I appreciate it. Yeah, we had one of those really good weeks where things just clicked. Shot a great 63 on Friday and, jumped up a bunch of spots and then held on down the stretch. Obviously, for those that watched the finish and for those that didn't, we were in the second to final group on Sunday. Only made one birdie on the back nine, which, doesn't really suit that golf course where you had to make a bunch of birdies. And two people had a chance on 18. The girl we were tied with made bogey, and then Coughlin didn't birdie. So as soon as she made bogey, it was all over, and my side of the bag wound up and got a flag. So, we're winners.
Well, and what I really like for the viewers or the listeners that aren't watching our show, as my puppy here, Samson, is trying to join the broadcast. What those listeners that are listening to us on the radio, they can't see. Scotty's coming to us from what looks like a presidential suite of a hotel in Houston as he's there preparing for the Chevron Championship. So my man gets his first W, and then, just no expense spared the next week. That's the way to go, isn't it? Private jets from LA to Houston and then presidential suites. You're living a different lifestyle now, Scottie Worldwide.
No, I was still on a 9:55 flight Sunday night and spent 3 hours in the ATL airport before going to Houston because that was the only flight left after we had to change our flight. So there's no luxury here, but I did get lucky to stay in some cool housing this week. Really good supporters of women's golf in the tournament were gracious enough to open a spot up, and shout out to Jason Scott, who's another caddy. He hooked me up, and Jokum, Noah, and a few other guys are staying here too, and it's a very nice pad, shall we say.
And it's off the ninth fairway there at Carlton Woods.
The snacks are very nice.
Well, there's not a lot of protein in there, so I had to say something. But right off the ninth fairway there, so literally you roll out of bed and you're at work. That's a nice situation to be in.
Yeah, no, it's really nice. We're literally on 9th fairway, so it's about one of the par threes that you like to play, about 210, 230 yards to player dining.
So 230 is more my liking, but yeah. So let's take it back to Sunday, the 17th hole, and I think you guys hit gap wedge into a front flag on 17.
Yeah, straight downwind.
Yeah, and flagged it, just hit it a little long. And man, I wish I could have told you, but Minji was there in that exact spot, maybe 2-3 groups in front of you. She missed it 6 inches left. Everybody was playing it down the ridge, hoping for it to come back to the hole. And it went left off the ridge and then just dead straight at the bottom. And you missed it exactly the same way Minji missed it. And as soon as Ingrid set up, I said, I think he's hitting on the same line Minji is. Didn't need it eventually, but I was hoping to give you a little cushion going down 18. Just talk about the emotions that were going on. I mean, this is your hometown event. You live, not too far away. You're at El Caballero, which is on Ventura Boulevard. They're near Topanga Canyon for those that know Southern California. You're in Thousand Oaks, just a little west of there. I mean, that really is a home game for you. Talk about the emotions.
No doubt. I mean, I had so many friends. I stayed with friends of the club all week. I had my girlfriend Irene out there who watched Saturday and Sunday. So many good people from Wilshire came. we didn't have the largest gallery, but we had a pretty big one on Saturday, and just the cheers of "Let's go, Scottie," and was so cool. And back to knowing what was going on, I knew exactly where we were. I knew Aki birdied 16. I knew by the kind of the wars that she didn't birdie 17, and obviously as soon as we signed the scorecard, I knew that they would have a chance on 18. But 18 is not the easiest hole. Back to what we were saying on 17, that green was so firm all week. We probably misclubbed it all day, but you can't really be short there either. And I think we had 4 pars there, so um, there's no way to really get that close. And then we didn't have a great angle on 18. I think we had 148 yards, and we flagged the 9 iron right at it, knowing that we had probably 15 behind it, and had to look at a putt. But like, couldn't really come up short with the angle that we had. We had to go right at it.
But that's such an aggressive line, and that's just the player she is, right?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I said it before, and I said it again. Like, the coolest thing about caddying for player like Ingrid is she's not scared of anything, and it makes it a lot of fun to caddy for someone like that, because you can take those risks, and you're going to make a bogey sometimes, but more than often you're going to make a lot of birdies that way. And to win out here and to win on a golf course that gave up that many birdies, you got to take on the flag sticks, because we talked about it all week. The greens are so undulated there that if you try to miss at 20 feet and you miss at 40 feet, you probably have a much tougher 2 putt than you would just chipping back at the flag. So a lot of the holes, it's better just to go right at it.
Well, in a course like that, I like telling my players, the conservative plays the aggressive play. You try to play conservative and you end up in a whole mess that you're just like, man, we just should have aimed at the flag. And maybe if we're hitting where we're looking, we're in great shape and we don't have to worry about all these contingencies, all these weird spots around the green. So, but it is kind of the way the game's going at the highest level, both men's and women's. The players at the top are the players that have some gas pedal in them. And I think Ingrid's got a whole lot more in the tank, including this week at the season's first major at the Chevron Championship.
Yeah, we've had 2 good days of practice. Obviously, these dates have been long, just with like media obligations and trying to get on the golf course. I mean, if this doesn't tell you you're a rookie, then I don't know what does. We win a golf tournament, and then we're not in the pro-am, so they let you play 9 holes at 5:30 at night last night. So we played 6 holes in that, and then walked the last 3 on the back nine yesterday in the complete dark. I think by the time I walked home, I was using my flashlight, to navigate where I was going. But listen, it is what it is, and as long as we have an opportunity to tee it up on Thursday morning, I think we'll be fine. And it's going to be wet. It's been storming. We've been on and off the golf course for rain delays and dangerous situations, and it's going to play very long. We hit a
Which
5 iron.
plays into your hands.
Yeah, like we hit a full 5 iron into number 2 today and didn't get there. We stopped on the front. It tells you how long it is. I don't think
So
last week
par
we
four.
yeah, I don't think last week. I don't think the biggest club we hit in was like a held off 6 iron on one of the par threes. So it tells you just how long it is.
So they didn't have any of my par threes out there last week.
No, you wouldn't have liked this. You wouldn't have liked the setup last week. I'll say that. but
So
it but
I'll
but it
actually
works. It
tell you,
works for.
I am old enough. I'm old enough. I actually caddied at El Caballero 20
Okay.
years ago when
Okay.
that used to be the Amy Alcott Office Depot Championship. I've actually got a pin somewhere up here on this wall that proves that I've been to that golf course. And so I was kind of having a lot of fun reliving some memories, seeing some of those holes I haven't seen in 20 years,
Well,
coming down the stretch watching you guys on Sunday.
how cool is this? Like Ingrid's photo now is going to be in the hallway with a 2-time champion that came from Sweden, Miss Annika. So just cool things like that.
And I was actually there when Annika won one of those years. And my player at the time, we had missed about 8 cuts in a row, and she just needed some kind of good vibe. And we walked onto the range right behind Annika, and For those that don't know, the driving range there has a bunch of telephone poles holding up the net.
Yeah.
And Annika was aiming at a telephone pole. The ball would start in the pole and come down in the pole, the same one every time. And so she said, hey, let's just stand here for about 5-10 minutes, see if osmosis transfers from her to us. And in 10 minutes, she never missed the telephone pole. I mean, again, there's a lot of stories about Annika, but that's my personal story of just how superhuman she was with consistency. And so to see your boss, a Swede, follow her in victory there, the JM Eagle Championship, your first flag, Southern California. I mean, buddy, I can't tell you how proud I am of you. And this is, I believe, the first of many for the two of you.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Obviously, it's a new week, and we're back to work trying to just do the same things, play the same way that we, attacked El Cab. And, a lot had to go right, but more than anything, I'm just happy for her. I'm happy, everyone that has thrown shade that says she stayed in school too long or she should have went it a different way, or, she's had to deal with a lot of, crap from what happened in China and from her, some of the Swedish media that's not been too friendly to her. I'm just happy for her.
Well, I'm happy for her. I'm happy for you. Again, you guys have been talking to each other for quite some time. You started working together last year. I believe Evian was your first event with her as a pro. Is that right? And
That
you
that's
guys
that's
had
correct.
the lead after the first round, second round?
After first got 7 under the first round.
Yeah. So again, you guys got off to a flying start. And so there were signs early that you guys are going to be a great duo. And now you've proven it on tour. Everybody knows it. We've got a lot of friends through this show and through our connections in pro golf. And it was really cool to see a lot of them reach out to you and give you your flowers this weekend. A lot of guys you respect a lot. They had a lot of nice things to say to you. And I'm happy that you're getting to experience that.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, that is the coolest thing about winning is like your peers coming up and saying congratulations, and I've not worked for the players that have the greatest professional resumes. That's so like you kind of doubt whether this day is going to ever come, if it will come. But like the only thing you can do, since we don't hit golf shots, is to work hard and do it the same way, no matter if you're caddying for 250th ranked player or the first ranked player in the world. And, it all happened on a magical week. And hopefully there's more magical weeks ahead, and again, I'm excited, things are good right now. It started to set in a little bit, once I got here and, oh, this wasn't a dream. This wasn't, what I think about. Like, I don't have to play the final round anymore. This actually happened. But again, I think for her and for me, it will be good to get to that first tee tomorrow, and then we can kind of just get back to what we were doing, because the week's been a little different just with everyone in the media and not getting on the golf course. And I know she was stressing a little bit because she hadn't seen the play. So we got to play the final 9 holes today, and it got her in, I think, a better groove. So
One of our guests, one of our buddies, guy that both of us have a ton of respect for, Reynolds Robinson, 17 years as a professional caddy. Before getting a W, you clipped him by more than a decade. Do you think you could have waited another 10 years to feel what you felt last week?
yeah, for sure, I think I could have. I'm glad I didn't. Didn't. But again, I don't think you ever know when it's going to happen, right? Like, look at some of the people that missed the cut last week, right? Like some all stars of our game. So I'm just it just happened, right? I think I did the math since 2020. I think it's like 126 starts I've had out here. I don't haven't had that many top tens, so it feels good to have a win up there. Because also too, like it just validates everything you do. It validates being gone from home 30 weeks a year. It validates spending $60,000 in expenses every week, or every year. Sorry. So it's just like this is a
Well,
thing,
the
and
way
this is
you're
a dream.
staying this week, it might be 60,000 a week.
Oh, no,
You know, these
this is
five-star
all.
hotels and private jets, they may cost 60K. I don't know.
this is all on the house. Listen, the direct deposit hasn't hit yet, so so we can't be doing that. But um, hopefully sometime tomorrow. But yeah, so it just makes it all worth it. And I don't come from a golfing background. I'd never played competitively, so for this to just happen just is a testament to hard work and things that I've been able to pick up along the way from people like yourself and some of the guests that we have on the show. And thank God from a girl from Sweden that believed in me enough to guide her out there, and it all worked. So
Well, and speaking of belief, Golf Digest believes in you guys. They gave their 15 players to watch this week for the LPGA's first major, and you guys came in at number 15.
whoa,
Um, I know. Hey, she's a rookie. She's never played this course before. Coming in the top 15. Hey, I'll take it, right?
I'll take it. I'll take it.
I mean, you're being mentioned with the likes of Nelly and Charlie Hall and, some really good players like Gino and Angel Yen. I mean, you're being talked about with those players already. So, patience, my friend. You'll be number one in the world soon enough, and all the trimmings that come with that in the media. But right now, being ranked 15th out of a field of 150,
Yeah, big
I
field.
think that's a fair handicap of you guys this week. And if you improve upon that, then it's all gravy, isn't it?
All gravy. Yeah, no, it's good. I'm just like you said. Tomorrow's gonna be a long day. We have an afternoon tee time, so just trying to get to that first tee, and then we can put on a blinders and kind of just stay in our own world. She talked about it last week in every press conference, just doing what she does and staying in her bubble. Doesn't get too up or too down, and just play golf. So
Well, we've talked about this. We've asked a lot of our guests this, but I'm always a little bit partial to the late early because you finish on Friday, and if there's a half dozen players at your number, you're going to be going out last on Saturday. So I feel like that positions you better for the weekend if you're playing well. And of course, Ingrid is, and you guys have done your work. So I expect you guys to get a tee time on Saturday, and late early is the way to go. You get your feet up on Friday afternoon, you rest,
yeah,
and you kind of get your mind right that you got two more rounds to go grab a trophy and put yourself in position. So I like that. I love the fact you guys are coming off a win, and it kind of sometimes being busy is good because
mm-hmm.
you're going through the motions, not brainless, but you're just doing the next thing that comes along, and you really don't have a lot of time to think about how awesome you guys are. And the tee comes on Thursday, you peg it and you go, and maybe it's a continuation of what you saw in LA.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for, and yeah, I mean it's pretty much go time, and prep's all done, and see when we peg it. Got a great pairing this week. Cool European pairing with Leona Maguire and another Solheim Cup captain, Anna Norquist, so another Swede. So cool
That
pairing.
may be on purpose. What do you think? Not such a random pairing, it doesn't sound like.
I just hope that we know all three of us have great days.
Yeah, well, I think the captain is going to scout her youngest member of the team, fellow countrywoman, and of course let Leona kind of guide her around and in the Solheim Cup if need be. So I think that's a great fit for you guys. Again, I mean, these are things that you have to begin considering. You've won in April, and all the things
Yep.
that come late in the season are going to be attached to that: world rankings, being asked to play and represent your country on a team. So again, Paul Cormack's probably getting ready to give you the scouting report of the Solheim Cup course, and ready to rock.
We got a long way until September of
I mean, Paul
26.
Cormack's going to be bringing you sandwiches and water. Paul Cormack's going to be driving your cart, bringing you sandwiches and water the next Solheim Cup. I love that idea. I think that's fantastic. We may put a
I mean,
camera on him, a my side of the bag camera, like on his hat, and just so he can give us Scottie Worldwide updates.
listen. As much as like winning has always been the goal, I've always thought and said out loud that being a part of a team event in golf would be the ultimate thing for me. Like, because a lot of people, you get the question of like, oh, you ever going to do men's, or have you ever done things? And I've always answered the same way, that I have goals and things that I want to do in the women's game. I've never been very specific about them, but that is a specific goal of mine, to be part of a Solheim Cup team, no matter whether it be on the European or the US side. So um, you can't think about that though now. You just have to go out there and play one hole at a time, and hope that in September 26th you fall in a slot that would be deserving of that to represent Europe or the USA.
Well, to give the listeners some history and some background, you know this and I know this because we're in the business, but they may not know. There's a caddy who is currently working for Tiger Woods. His name is Lance Bennett, and he worked for Matt Kuchar in some team events on the men's side, but he got his comeuppance, if you will, on the LPGA, helping Lorena Ochoa ascend to number one in the world. And that got him some excellent experience, some excellent exposure in all the game's biggest stages. I believe they won the Open Championship at St. Andrews together. I could be wrong there. Not sure if he was still with her, but nevertheless, he got a ton of experience with the number one player in the women's game. And then that kind of allowed him to make a smooth transition to work for some of the top men. And now he is employed by Tiger Woods. Of course, Tiger's not playing. So right now, Lance is actually caddying for Michael Thorbjornsson out of Stanford, has that Stanford connection. Also, Michael represented by Mark Steinberg, Tiger's agent. So there's a lot of overlap there. But just to give the listeners a little bit of context of, Scottie could go on a run here with Ingrid for the next 4 or 5 years, get to number one in the world, and then maybe there's a chance for him to do it on the men's side. But again, getting to number one in the world and winning major championships is a job in and of itself, no matter what side of the game you're on. So I personally am thrilled for this victory you had a couple of days ago, and I'm really excited to watch what's down the runway for you guys in the near future. Not really getting too far ahead in those things, but just wanted to give the listeners some context of what you were referring to, people asking you about your career ambitions. Yeah. I think every caddy would love to work all 9 majors. I think that would be a cool thing to check off anybody's box, and the caddy in a Solheim, caddy in a Ryder Cup or President's Cup, great. But right now, you've got a lot in front of you, and I believe you're going to accomplish a lot of those goals, including being part of a team match very, very soon.
That would be awesome. That would be really, really cool. But again, we can make a big statement this week, and all eyes of the women's golf game, point here towards Chevron and the Woodlands, and I think that's our singular focus is, how in the world are we going to play this place, because it's tough, and it ain't going to be like
I think Ingrid has some skills that can be applied there. Length being the first in my mind. She's long, she's strong. That's what that course asks you to be.
We'll see. We will see.
And then
it's going to be a test.
It's going to be a test, and then you're going to play a U.S. Open in Erin Hills. I've said the same thing. It's the Bombers. Yeah. And I don't know if did I predict you guys to win this one or Erin Hills? May have predicted Charlie to win Erin Hills. May have predicted you guys to win one along the way. Maybe Evian. But you'd take the win this week, I guess, wouldn't you?
I would take it win any in all times. Going back to last September in Epsom, which I think helped prepare Ingrid for what happened on Sunday. She talked about it, right? She talked about how, she wasn't there to play around or mess around on Epsom. 9 starts and finished 6, right? So, and 2 missed cuts in those. So,
nine starts, finished 6th, and they only give out 10 cards. So she only got 9 opportunities to get into the top 10 for a season-long race, which other players had accrued points. I mean, it was 20-something events throughout the year. So she was playing less than half, and she had to get into the top 10. That's a huge amount of pressure, and she handled it. You guys handled it as a team.
Yeah, no doubt. So, I think all of those things have helped and prepare her. And, she's got a great team around her, followed by her coaches and the Swedish golf team. She's got a great agents. And to be part of that team, I think, is really cool, too. So, yeah.
All right. So, Scottie Worldwide, JM Eagle, champion caddy. Got the flag. He's got a hometown win. He's at a major this week, the Chevron Championship. They're going late on Thursday afternoon. Tune in to watch them. I'm sure there will be a couple of shots shown of Ingrid and her man, Scottie Worldwide. All right, take your boss out of it because we don't want to be biased here. Let's do it. Let's do it this way. Who do you have to beat this week to win the championship?
Um, I mean, you start and end every list like this with the number one player in the world, Nelly Korda. Um, I think Gino is up there. When I walked the golf course on Monday, I watched Patty play about 4 holes. Patty T, and her and Jason Hamilton, they didn't miss a shot.
Cavatana kit for those that don't know.
Yeah, I didn't want to mess it up on the air, so I just said Patty T. Uh, but I tell you what, she looked so good on the golf course Monday when she was hitting
Hmm.
it. Didn't miss a shot. And I mean, for everyone that's ever watched the Chevron, you know how hard some of those driving holes are. 13, 14, 15, 16 are just holes where you just have to sit up and hit a good golf shot. There is no bailout, and if you can't be in the rough or a fairway bunker, you just got to hit it. And she didn't miss a shot. So I was thinking, oh, so I think she's going to be a factor this week. And then I would say Gino and Nelly, obviously, just because of what they've accomplished and who they are. And then I'll give you one more name. I think Lydia Ko could
Hmm.
conquer this golf course. Not long, but it's not going to really get in too much trouble. And when I walked the golf course on Monday, it took me about 4 hours. And old boy Paul Cormack was doing it, and it took him about 6 hours. So he was putting in a lot of work on that golf course on Monday. Granted, they didn't play last week, so I know they were kind of prepping for this week. I think that was strategic. And so I think down the stretch, I think Lydia might be a factor.
So Nelly Korda, your defending champion. 2 years ago, Lilia Vu beats Angel Yin in a playoff. So also players to maybe keep an eye on this week at the Chevron Championship, where our man Scotty's going to go for back-to-back wins with his boss Ingrid Lindblad, and I like their chances. All right, we're both wearing Masters shirts.
Let's go.
Um, what was your reaction to the event?
Couldn't have been better for golf. I
Hmm.
think in a time where it's fractured, and that seems like the maybe one singular event where everyone of the golf world comes together and just appreciates the tradition and the celebration and the pageantry that is the Augusta National and is the Masters. I think it was so fitting that Rory won. I think that was my pick. I think I dusted you in my picks for the week.
Oh gosh.
So
For the
just
record, we did a show and we had a little bit of a technical issue. The show didn't download the way we wanted, so we were never able to publish anything. So I guess we'll just have to go a little extra long in the 2026 Masters preview show to
so
make up
well,
for, I guess Scotty predicted the winner. I don't know.
okay, it's convenient how that one didn't get posted. But I'll just say that, okay. But anyways, the fact that Rory was able to do the Grand Slam and how he did it, very human. Had some of his worst shots I've ever seen him hit, and had some of the greatest shots I've ever seen him hit. Like, no disrespect to Mr. Saracen, but I don't know if I've ever seen a better shot on 15. Maybe
Hmm.
you have being around there a long time, but that 7 iron was
Yeah, I mean,
pretty special.
I think I texted you on Thursday when Roy chipped into the water on 15 after going long in his second
Yeah.
shot. And I said, Rory just lost the Masters. And little did I know he would try to lose it 6 or 7 more times throughout the week with an arm going into the jacket and just kept, I mean, it was incredibly dramatic. If you were cheering for Rory, it was incredibly stressful. And I
Yeah.
honestly didn't really give it as much credit as I should have. I didn't realize how much I was cheering for Rory until it happened. And,
Yeah.
I'm not a very emotional guy. You can ask my wife and my daughter. I don't have a lot of feelings that usually get expressed in the moment. I'm pretty good at, putting on a strong front. And, I even had a tear in my eye when he is writhing and just letting it out, and just all that 14 years, 11 years, however many years you want to say, that pent up expectation and all that disappointment that he just lifted off his shoulders. And then Harry, coming in and just them hugging. And I've been critical of Harry. I'll raise my hand and say I was critical of him at times, including last year on the 15th hole at the U.S. Open. I've been critical of him. I did say in the past, he has developed into one of the best in the world. And to share that moment with Rory, that's their first major win together. They had a ton of wins, FedEx Cups.
Yeah.
I think they've won 2 FedEx Cups together.
Something.
DP World Tour, race to Dubai's, won everything except a major. So to get that off both of their backs was huge. And again, just gutted for Rose and my man Fooch, who I met on the LPGA over 20 years ago and always looked up to him. And what a classy move for both of those guys to stand there and wait and embrace Rory and hug him. And a friend of mine, he said, I held it together until I saw Rose's caddy hugging Rory. And that's kind of when, he lost it, because it was just a really classy move. So really, really cool event. I think based on what I saw on CBS that you couldn't have a more popular champion from the memberships perspective. I think that was a huge deal. Only the second time that a Grand Slam has been completed at Augusta National, the first time being Gene Sarazen in 1935. And it was almost like that Grand Slam was that title was given to him after the fact. So there wasn't a lot of buildup, wasn't a lot of fanfare. As a matter of fact, my grandmother told me about keeping memorabilia from those early Masters that my family attended, including the 1935 Masters. I said, do we have any ticket stubs, any programs, anything that we can frame and just keep for generations? And she says, honey, it wasn't that big a deal back then, including maybe Gene Sarazen's Grand Slam. So this Grand Slam happening at Augusta National for a guy that is universally respected and admired. You can't, again, Rory sat down in his post-tournament press conference and kind of joked, what are we going to talk about next year? There will be plenty of storylines, but that is a big one that is no longer going to be discussed. And I'm happy for Rory. He personally, I think, has been through the ringer on several different fronts in his personal life, his professional life, his, being pushed out front for the PGA Tour against Liv and then backing off from that, having some disagreements maybe with the commissioner and other members of the board, and different things going on. And then the TGL stuff that he's been very busy with, just a lot going on in his life the last half decade. So for this to kind of come and happen for him, and many have said it, and I'll echo, this could turn into a second run of majors for him. I don't see why we wouldn't expect him to win more big ones, especially going to Quail Hollow next for the PGA Championship. Oakmont, I think, is anybody's game. And then, of course, he's playing a home game at the Open Championship this year. Played very poorly there the first time around, maybe learned some lessons about how to handle the week, how to handle the home crowd. I've famously hit it into the internal out of bounds on the first hole, teeing off on Thursday, which kind of set the course for his entire tournament, missed the cut. So I expect a different result this year at Portrush. Could be a really good year in the majors for Rory. Again, contended last year at Pinehurst, and we could see a fun year for everybody, but Mr. McIlroy especially.
Drew, let me ask you, because you know the situation, you know the players at hand. What did you make of Bryson talking about how Rory didn't talk to him all day, and the fact that Rory didn't want to talk to him? What was your reaction when you heard that?
So my reaction was, I was on the assignment with Smiley last year, final round of the U.S. Open. We get Patrick Cantlay, Rory McIlroy in the second to last group. The final group, of course, is Bryson and Pavone. Rory birdies 10, Rory birdies 12, Rory birdies 13. He's got a couple of shot lead, only 5 holes to play. He's had blinders on all day long. And then on the 14th hole, he backs off his tee shot, watches Bryson's tee shot. Suddenly he's aware of everything going on around him. He gets to 15 tee. He pulls the 7-iron, which Smiley and I both said too much club. We agreed, yes, it's too much club, but he still has a 7. Smiley said, that's going to go over the green. I said, possibly. Just, you could look down 15, down to 17, and there's a big grandstand behind the green on 17. You could see the flags blowing downwind for the shot on 15. And I know how high Rory can hit it, and he can hit it basically any club as far as he wants. And I felt like it was an 8-iron there. And so I hear that. Smiley and I are kind of arguing. I look back to see Rory hit the shot, and he has turned completely over his left shoulder, again, watching Bryson approach into 14. And then, of course, we know he makes bogey on 15, bogey on 16, bogey on 18 to end up allowing Bryson to win the tournament on the 18th hole. So all that happens. And then Bryson makes the comment about Rory didn't talk to me all day. And I thought, man, that was Rory's team correcting the mistake he made last June by saying, and I said this when everything played out Saturday night and I knew Bryson and Rory were going to be in the final pairing. I said, that's a huge advantage for Rory, because instead of being in a similar situation last year at Pinehurst, where Rory's having to look to the other group to watch his closest pursuer, instead he's right in front of him. He's within the group. He's holding his scorecard. There's no question where he stands, where I stand. So Rory could put the blinders on, stay in his own lane, focus on himself. And I've been around Rory a lot. I've done dozens and dozens of rounds with Rory McIlroy. And when he's playing his best, I caddied. When I was caddying for Bryson, we got paired on Sunday at Bay Hill with Rory. And he didn't talk to Bryson that day very much either. And he shot 65. Bryson shot 66, 13 under in the 2-ball. We walked off the green the final time shaking Mr. Palmer's hand, which is a cool memory. But Rory, when he's playing his best, doesn't talk to anybody. And neither does Tiger Woods. And Bryson knows both men. And Bryson is awesome at gamesmanship. One of his little tricks that I'll tell you, if he's playing with a slow player, he'll go fast and he'll walk fast. If he's playing with a fast player, he'll back it up and he'll slow things down, almost like Sergio likes to do in match play situations. Bryson is a master at match play. Anybody that wins the U.S. Amateur is a master at match play. He's done that. So for him to kind of go to the media, again, it doesn't surprise me. I am a little surprised that he was surprised that Rory kind of focused on his own game, ended up getting the win at Bryson's expense. It just surprised me that he would go to the media with that, because now that's a thing, right? Yeah. You don't say anything. Nobody knows. Maybe Rory's, Bob Rotella says something about, well, we just wanted him to really be focused. And that's kind of the extent. These things have a way of building on themselves. And Rory and Bryson are going to be paired together again pretty soon. It's kind of like last year when Cantlay and Rory got paired together in the last round at the U.S. Open. Smiley and I were kind of excited because that was their first pairing since the Ryder Cup dust up in Rome.
Yeah.
So they're going to see each other again. This story, again, like the Bryson Brooks feud, this thing is going to get oxygen and it's going to live. And that may be good for golf. These are two great big personalities for a very good reason, because they're both awesome at golf and they're also two big personalities. Yeah. And it sounds like there's a little bit of friction and nothing stirs things up like a little bit of a rivalry.
Did you think that Bryson leans into that and kind of wants to make it a thing because it's good for him and it's good publicity and it's good for YouTube and all of that? Like, do you think he sees this as an opportunity for almost to brand this as him versus Rory type of thing?
I mean, again, I wouldn't put anything past his marketing mind. He's really, really smart when it comes. He really does understand the whole YouTube, social media, influencer thing. Probably the number one guy that's a true professional golfer, doing the long drive events, just the way, doing the hole-in-one challenge at his house. That was a home run. So, and again, he does have a team behind him. I don't think that was calculated. I'm going to try to give him a little more credit than that. Okay. But the fact is, this is a story. It's headlines. Bryson's always been great. at providing headlines from the very beginning, from, when he was an amateur comparing himself to Albert Einstein and things like that. He knows how to make bold statements. Maybe that was calculated and it could be good for golf. We're sitting here talking about it. Now we're talking about it because I have a bit of a connection to Bryson, so I have a little bit
You'd be
more
the perfect
insight
guy
than
to know.
others. But yeah, I mean, this thing's going to live on, and we got a Ryder Cup coming up this year.
Oh,
And if
yes, we
you
do.
don't think that the golf gods are going to give us Rory v. Bryson on Sunday at Bethpage, you're out of your tree,
Yeah.
because that's
Yeah.
probably going to happen. And the Ryder Cup, it's a blind draw. And it's going to be one of those, they're either going to be the first match out, which is what I would do either side. I would put my strongest player, and I'd put Rory out to quiet the crowd, and I'd put Bryson out to fire up the crowd. Leaving every green, he's going to be high-fiving all those crazy New York sports fans,
Oh, yeah.
chanting USA, getting them going, trying to annoy whoever he's playing, whether it's Rory or anyone else. So if I'm Luke Donald, I'm putting Rory out first, and if I'm Keegan Bradley, I'm putting Bryson out first. And man, I'll be lobbying hard to be with Smiley in that first pairing. Bones and I got the Sergio Bryson matchup on Sunday at Whistling Straits, and that was fantastic entertainment for me inside the ropes. The things I heard that none of you guys will ever hear. I got so many stories just from that match alone, much less the entire 5-match event. That match was so much fun. Sergio trying to needle Bryson, Bryson trying to return it. Then that, I can't wait for Sunday singles at the Ryder Cup, and I'm going to be there. And man, I would love to be inside that first match, McIlroy versus DeChambeau.
That would be something. That would be something.
I mean, the New York fans are going to be like yelling at the captains to make that happen on Friday and Saturday.
Yeah.
They're probably going to try to arrange something. And again, it's either going to be the first one
I think,
or it's going to be the last one. The first one has more impact, traditionally setting a tone. So that's kind of where you expect to see it.
Yeah. And I hope it's a dead tie going into that match too. I hope we're dead tie going into singles.
Honestly, I don't know why, but the little thought bubble popped in my head today, and I said, man, wouldn't it be something to walk down that 18th hole at Bethpage in September in that final match, that final twosome on Sunday, and it's that hole to decide the Ryder Cup? How electric would that place be? It rarely ever happens, but the way that amphitheater with 17 and 18 and the first hole, all that's right there. I mean, that's going to be basically a stadium in September, and it'll be a lot of fun. But
that'd be
and again, back to the Bryson Rory thing. I mean, the way the PGA Championship likes grouping the past major winners together. So you got a U.S. Open champ, an Open champion, and a Masters champ. So we may see a Rory Bryson pairing in a couple of weeks at the PGA, and both guys have a lot of experience on that golf course and could play well again. Don't be surprised if you see them paired together Thursday, Friday, and maybe again on Sunday at Quail Hollow.
Wait and see. But I knew you'd be the
that
perfect
could be a
guy
lot of fun.
I knew you'd have so much insight on that, so that's why I wanted you to give our listeners something about that, because you've been inside the ropes with both of them so many times. So.
Yeah, and again, Rory and Harry back to their victory at the Masters. I mean, last year, actually walking down the 12th fairway at Pinehurst, well, actually in the 12th fairway hitting his second shot, Rory pulls out and Harry signals me pitching wedge. So, okay, Rory backs off, changes clubs, and Harry signals me pitching wedge. And I'm like, well, you didn't switch out of the same thing. How's that? And Harry kind of, and nodding. And he's kind of like, I'll explain it in a second. Because he looks at me and he can see the look on my face. I'm like, I'm not going to give inaccurate information to the truck and to Smiley. And so I, I didn't change my call. I just stuck with what I gave him. And then Harry was explaining to me he has a weak pitching wedge and a strong pitching wedge. So Harry was correct in signaling the same club to me twice, but they're lofted about 4 degrees apart. And Harry spent the walk from the 12th fairway to the 12th green explaining that to me. And Rory's just kind of nodding along like, yeah, and it's just, again, just nice guys, always been nice, always been kind to me, and really happy to see them win. And going to be excited to see that victory lap next year at Augusta for Rory. Champions Dinner will be fun to kind of see how he honors his homeland, and obviously he knows every chef in the business, so he can serve whatever he wants.
And he'll put together a good dinner, and I don't think he'll have trouble picking up the tab.
No, I think he'll be okay. All right, to the RBC, and Justin Thomas gets a win with Joe Greiner on the bag. And so this is a show about caddies, so we're going to talk a little bit about this.
Yep.
All the headlines I've read, I haven't spoken to any of the principals, but all the headlines I've read is Joe decided to make a change as Max's caddy.
Yep.
The week before the Masters. Our buddy Matt Minister, Rev, hurts his back, can't caddy in the Masters. So JT calls in Joe, since Joe's recently available, just to fill in. They do okay at Augusta, and then they go to Hilton Head and they win.
Yep.
Max did beat JT in the Masters, for those that are keeping score at home. But JT gets the W at Hilton Head. And I can report to you today that Matt Minister will be back on the bag for JT at Philly Cricket Club. I believe next week at the Truist.
That sounds correct. Yeah.
Great news for our friend Rev.
Yeah.
Back in action. His back is good. So hopefully he stays healthy, maybe adds a little bit more plyometrics to his morning routine, so he can pick up a major with his man. Of course, he's the defending champion the last time they had that major there.
Well,
at Quail Hollow, JT won the PGA.
I think, he's so excited that he's been, drinking all this Kool-Aid from his Buckeyes victory that, it may have caught up with him. So, maybe he'll settle down on his Ohio State love a little bit and get his back right. So, but no, that's great news.
Well,
yeah.
They played their championship game in Atlanta, Georgia, and I sent it to you and to him. Somebody put this Go Bulldog sign on one of the skyscrapers in downtown Atlanta, and I sent it to him the day of the game. And of course he goes, "You guys always have to make it about yourselves, don't you?" And, and he's right. Bulldog fans have that habit, but the game was being played in Bulldog country. So why wouldn't somebody throw a Go Dog sign up there on one of those buildings that they probably own? So,
but I will say this, and this meant a lot to me. He was one of the first people to text me on Sunday. And so, little things like that mean the world to me. I mean, he doesn't owe me or this show or anything his time. And, he was human enough to send a text of congratulations and just remember who I was and who I work for. That meant a lot to me. So.
Well, I was furiously texting a lot of people on Sunday saying, "You got to watch my man. You got to watch." I mean, buddy, I can't tell you how excited I am, how proud I am. I was, and again, when I'm watching coverage on a Sunday, no matter what I'm watching, I'm obviously looking with a very critical eye, and watching, okay, what did this guy do good? What did he do bad? What can I take from that? Oh man, this guy needs to get canned. And man, you were so cool. You were just like this. And it was just so fun to watch you perform at the highest level on a huge stage. And you acted like you'd been there before, even though I knew you hadn't. And that was really impressive. So kudos to you, buddy. You are really, really good at this job. And I am so proud to call you my co-host and proud to call you LPGA winning caddy.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you're part of that. And you're part of the people that I look up to, right, that have had so much success doing this, and just the names and the people that y'all have worked for tells me how good y'all. So the fact that like people can give me the flowers, obviously, it means a lot to me. And so,
well, and I think Joe Scavron sent you a congratulatory text.
Yeah.
Right. So Ludwig Ober's caddy, Joe Scavron, he was paying attention. Again, I tell people all the time, pro golf's a pretty small little group when you really break it down against the whole of the population. And
that's true.
I think you found out how many people are paying attention, and that's pretty cool.
That is cool. It was very cool. But hopefully we rack off a few more. So keep people watching here.
All right, afternoon tea time in the Chevron Championship for my man Scottie Worldwide and his boss Ingrid Lindblad. All right, final thoughts from you as we wrap up the Scottie Appreciation Show.
Oh God. Just again, like last week was really really cool, and super excited to get back out there. Super excited to see what we got on this tough, challenging golf course. This is one of the premier events. It raises a lot of good things for women's golf and women's sports. To be part of that is really cool, and it's gonna be tune in because I think people are gonna watch a worthy champion and on a really really tough course this week.
Looking forward to it. Coverage on NBC here in the United States. Don't know who's covering overseas for all our friends tuning in, but we will be watching and cheering for you very, very hard. Thanks to our sponsors, Birdie Brands and Uncle Keith's Red Sauce. For those tuning in for the first time via the link on the Back Nine Brief, we thank you guys. Hopefully you'll keep tuning in. Give us a listen. Give us a like. We're on Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, X, as we call it now in the U.S. So, again, give us a listen, give us a like, subscribe where you can, and that'll boost our numbers and allow us to keep doing this show and bringing you a little bit of content from a position that most people don't watch the game from, which is my side of the bag. So, again, keep supporting us, and we'll keep giving you a view of the world of golf from my side of the bag.
Uncle Keith's Red Sauce. This salsa got its start in a tiny kitchen in Alabama, but it's big on flavor at family gatherings, big or small. Make sure you have Uncle Keith's Rest in time for the Super Bowl. You can find Uncle Keith's at a grocery store in the southeastern United States, or if you're like me on the West Coast, you can go to UncleKeithSauce.com and order yours today. Call it red sauce, call it salsa, but when you have Uncle Keith's, you can definitely call it a party.
Birdie Brand's all-natural bug deterrent is the best in the game of golf. It keeps the bugs away while giving you a bit of focus for those tight moments as the match comes to a close. Tour tested, tour approved. The 1-ounce bottle fits in any golf bag or travel case. When the match is on the line, your focus and comfort are things you don't want to be thinking about. Use Birdie Brands to make sure that doesn't happen. Birdie Brands, game on, bugs gone. Get yours at birdiebrands.com today.